It's just basically ejected fine bits of dust absolutely everywhere. It's all over the place. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Letting a Wheel Pick My Craft. The last episode was a complete mess. No! But that's because I was going through some stuff. Oh, you bitch. And I just, once I'd finished editing the video and once I'd made what I made, there was no fixing it. So today I'm hoping things go a little bit better, but I suppose it all depends on what the wheel ends up picking for us. Hopefully it's something good. Okay, well let's find out what I'm going to be making in today's episode and spin that wheel. Okay, that's alright, that's fine. We're making something for the garden. That's different, we haven't had that yet. I'll have to give that one a think, won't I? But definitely an interesting start. Okay, it's time to find out what this garden thing's going to be made out of. I think I'll be happy with pretty much any of them, apart from food and paper. I don't want food and paper because that doesn't scream garden, does it? Wood would be a nice one. I would really like wood. I could do a lot with that. But the control's out of my hands, so let's find out and spin that wheel. Okay. Foam. I've had foam before. Foam's not great. Something for the garden made out of foam. My mind is completely blank. I'll come up with something though. That's not impossible. And it's not impractical either because foam's waterproof. Hopefully I get a big budget. Okay, let's see how much I can spend on this foam garden object. And I need some budget. I have a little bit of expandable foam in the studio. Oh, and I've got a couple of polystyrene things. So that could be considered as foam. But other than that, I've got nothing. So if this lands on zero, I'm gonna have to go diving in the bins. But let's put me out my misery and spin that wheel. Oh. Why? Oh, you shit. You absolute little shit. £5. £5. That's nout. This is gonna be awful. Well, it is what it is, and just gonna have to deal with it, aren't I? Okay, now I get to find out if I can use any decorative materials or supporting materials that doesn't have to be foam. Not that it particularly matters because I don't have the budget for it, but I still would like yes, because it opens my options. But let's find out and spin that wheel. Okay, yes, great, good, yes. Alright, well, you know, one thing went my way. So in today's episode, I'm going to be making something for the garden, which is going to be made out of foam. I've only got £5 to spend. I can't spend any more than that. But I can use supporting materials and decorative materials. So at least that'll help us out a little bit. But I just have absolutely no idea what to do. Alright, well, I'm going to have to go away and give it a really good think and figure out what I can do with the money that I've got. But anyway, I'll see you in a few weeks and we can see what I've decided to make. Alright, so it's a few weeks later, and my idea isn't particularly original or creative or anything like that. I haven't thought outside the box. I've just thought of garden, plants. I'll make a plant pot. So that's what I'm going to be making today. And because obviously I had quite a small budget for this project, I had to utilize a lot of the stuff I already had in the studio because I wasn't going to rummage around bins and beg and borrow and steal. It's not my cup of tea. So to act for a base as this plant pot, I'm just using this plastic mixing bowl and I'm going to be using expandable foam and making this as kind of the structure where the plant sits in, if that makes sense. So I was just getting all that prepared and then I realized before I started using the expandable foam, I might want to put some plastic sheets on my table just in case I ruin my table. So once all that was prepared, I just decided to go around the outside of this bowl with some expandable foam. And it's really easy to use. I've used it a million times before, and it's just so much fun. And once all that foam had set, I've ended up with an object like this. And it's far bigger than I thought it was going to be. It is absolutely massive. It could also be a very fashionable hat. See, I told you. Definitely a hat. It's actually quite comfortable and light. I like it. But I'm not making a hat, I'm making a plant pot, so I need to do more to this. So my original idea is I wanted to actually take this bowl out of the foam just so it would leave this bowl imprint. But unfortunately, I think it's in there forever now. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that out. I probably could, but it's really going to damage the foam, and then I'm not going to be left with any plant pot. So I'm just going to have to leave it in, and we'll call that the structural support, which is in the rules, and I'm allowed to do that anyway, so it's fine. So now I just want to carve this down, just with a knife, and make it look a little bit more, dunno, interesting, exciting, like a plant pot. I don't really have any idea for it. As long as it looks half decent, I'm not arsed. This is going to leave such a mess, and I've literally just cleaned the studio the other day. Right, so I've got a flat base. That's looking good. Now I just need to somehow come up with some artistic flair and make this look alright. Wish me luck. I feel like I'm enjoying the kind of sombrero shape, so I want to keep it this way. I just need to kind of flatten it and smooth it down a little bit, but it's quite tricky. I don't know whether anyone's carved foam before, but it's not the best. Okay, so now that I've got the bulk of it off, I'm hoping that I can just use some sandpaper and just kind of sand it down and smooth it down and make it look a little bit less like expandable foam. I've never sanded expandable foam before, but I'm sure you can do it because I don't want it to look like this, but it's also very hard to cut it all with a knife. Right, let's give this a go. We'll see what happens. Oh, actually this is alright. It's going to take us absolutely ages, but I think this is the best option. This is going to take so long. Shall I use the power sander? The power sander is going to be easier, but it's going to be more messy. But if I save time power sanding it, then I don't mind cleaning up after myself. I think I'm going to try power sanding it. I've convinced myself.
Convince yourself.
And before anyone says anything, I'm not doing this outside because it's raining. So I'm just going to have to do it in the studio. I dread to think how messy this is going to be. I underestimated A, how noisy that was going to be, and B, just how dusty that was going to be. There is dust all over the lens of all the cameras, but I think it's looking better, so that's good. But I'm going to go away and tidy up a bit before we move on to the next step. Okay, well I definitely wouldn't advise sanding foam inside your studio or your house or anything like that because it doesn't save time. Cleaning it up takes forever. I feel like I'm still going to be cleaning it up for years to come. It's just basically ejected fine bits of dust absolutely everywhere. It's all over the place. You have no idea. But I think it's been kind of worth it. I would have liked to have done a little bit more, but just the mess and the noise I can't. I think once I've painted it, it'll even everything out and make it look a little bit better. Right, so for my paint job, because I don't think I've got enough varnish in the studio to varnish this, which is what you'll want because you'll want to protect it. I do have some gloss paint and I'm going to mix some gloss paint in with some acrylic paint and hopefully that'll seal it in and give it a bit more protection than just paint it with normal acrylic paint. And I think it might potentially look nice. I'm just hoping I only need one coat. I don't want to have to do a second coat because I don't even think I've got enough of this paint left. This paint is so thick. Do I have a spoon? Of course I have a spoon. Don't worry, this isn't a spoon I actually use for food or anything like that. It's just a regular studio spoon. I'm assuming everyone has a studio spoon. If not, then, you know, you're missing out. Right, and then I just want to mix this with some green acrylic paint. Should have maybe used a bowl, shouldn't I? But I've already used my bowl for my plant pot. And you'll be happy to know that I haven't spent a single penny yet. I have spent my budget, I've spent the £5, but you'll have to wait till a little bit later on to see what I've actually spent that money on. Okay, so it's not screaming plant pot to us yet. It's definitely screaming UFO kind of. What is that? But I'm gonna wait for this to dry. Hopefully tonight I'm gonna be able to flip it over and paint the other side. And then tomorrow I'll meet you back here and we can move on to the final step, which I think will make this read more like garden and plant pot than what it's reading right now. And I did manage to get this plant pot fully painted last night, but then I realised I completely forgot to add drainage holes to it. So this morning I drilled some holes into it. And then also, I just thought it was looking a little bit plain and a little bit boring, so I decided to paint some black stripes around the rim of this plant pot, just to make it a little bit more interesting, to add a little bit of detail, to zhuzh it up a bit. And now it's looking a little bit like this, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of into it. I think the black stripes have definitely helped just make it look a little bit more fancy. But I'm not done yet, because I haven't spent any of my £5 budget yet, and I'll show you what I've spent that money on. So I decided to buy this lovely dahlia flower, which I think looks really nice, and I think the bees will absolutely love it, and the insects and stuff, so that's always good. And I also bought a bag of compost. Now, unfortunately, all of this came to just over £7. However, I'm only going to be using a fraction of the compost, so that technically means I'm in my £5 allowance. I'm going to say that's the case, you know? I make the rules, that's what I'm allowed. I could have come in at exactly £5, but it would have meant I'd have had like a really shitty plant, and I saw this dahlia, and I just really wanted it. But I did stop myself because there were really nice lavender plants, but they were £11 and I didn't buy that. So I have showed some sort of caution to the rules. But it's just time to get this flower planted and then the plant pot should be done. The thing is, I'm not good with keeping house plants alive, but outside plants, it's up to nature to keep them alive, isn't it? So if it dies, it's not my fault. And there we go, a lovely plant pot. I think that looks alright. I like it with the flower in. I think it looks way better with the flower in. But I'll take my finished plant pot out into the garden and I'm sure it'll fit in with all the rest of my decor. And I think I've done an alright job. I kind of like it. But that just about does it for today's episode of Letting a Wheel Pick My Crafts. Let me know down in the comments what foam object for the garden you would have made. Because yous always comment the really obvious things, which I never think of, or yous always comment like an amazing idea that I just didn't think of. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next week for a brand new video.